Is this the most dominant program to ever jump from the FCS to the FBS? I'm your host, Nathan Johnson, and joining me today to break all of this breaking news down for you, my co-host and betting expert for Break The Huddle, ladies and gentlemen, Rooster's Cocky Picks. Rooster, good to be back for another week, and let's just jump right into this one, shall we? All right. Rooster, when you hear of North Dakota State to the Mountain West, what's your gut reaction? Excitement or skepticism?
My gut reaction is excitement for North Dakota State and what they have for the future. But I'm surprised that they made this jump with how dominant they have been at the FCS level. I know we've seen teams like James Madison come in and they made it to the playoff after a couple years. But North Dakota State is a team that they have imposed their will on FCS competition for what seems like decades now. And it raises the question of, are they going to be able to continue this domination at the FBS level? Are they going to take advantage of the new reshaped Mountain West? Or are they in over their heads?
Well, Rooster, I think you make several great points there. And, I mean, we've got some key facts to break down for the viewers out there. For one, the North Dakota State Bison, they're joining the Mountain West Conference. That's already well known. They're going to be football only in this conference starting July 1st of 2026 this year. And that's something to keep an eye on. All other sports at North Dakota State are going to remain at the FCS level. Another thing we got to take a look at, they're going to pay $5 million in NCAA fees, plus another $10 to $12 million in conference entry fees to join the FBS and particularly the Mountain West Conference. Rooster, I'll turn it back to you. Is this the kind of financial commitment, a sign they know they're ready, or are they betting big on culture carrying them?
I think they're betting on themselves and the way they've been performing in the past, because in the big scheme of things, at Division I football, $15 million is a drop in the bucket for what a large majority of these teams are able to take in. I know that a lot of schools, their entire athletic budget may come from these bye games that some of these high competition, these Georgias and Alabamas and Texases have. And that's what teams use as their budget. But they also get a bunch of money in TV revenue that they put towards other things. And in the Mountain West Conference, this isn't what the FCS is or the small Mercers of the world where they're all their games on ESPN+. The Mountain West is going to be playing on CBS Sports, CBS Sports Network, all these types of networks that they're going to be getting national recognition. And they're going to be playing it during some weekday games where they are going to be the only team on TV. And it's going to bring a lot of excitement around that football program. And it's going to bring in a lot of new eyes who have not seen North Dakota State play before, simply because they're going to be off of the ESPN Plus platform. And another thing, I know you may mention it later on this video, but it raises the question of what does Matt Entz, the previous coach of North Dakota State that led North Dakota State's domination, what is his thoughts on this? Because I would have to bet, if I was a betting man, that he would have not left North Dakota State as the head coach if he knew that within the span of 2 years, his program would be jumping to the FBS level.
Yeah, you raise a lot of great questions, Rooster. And I was just looking at Matt Entz's contract currently at Fresno State, valued at about $7.35 million. So you got to think that comes into play. Obviously, he would have liked to be the coach of North Dakota State for a while, especially knowing that it would have jumped to the FBS level to give them more bowl eligibility, to give them the opportunity to even make the college football playoff one day. Those are questions that will always be out there. Right, the what ifs, but I don't know if he necessarily regrets taking the job at Fresno State. Again, obviously he went to USC for a year to be their defensive assistant coach, to get some reps before he became the Fresno State head coach. But listen, you bring up a lot of great points too. And when we talk about North Dakota State, obviously I'm boots on the ground right here behind me. I've got the Fargo Dome sitting beautifully. I can't wait for this team to make the jump, man. This is a team that a lot of people have asked, why have they not jumped to the FBS already? Well, now that question gets answered, and now we're going to see what they're capable of doing in a very competitive conference. Are they the most dominant conference? Do they have five stars running around? No, but it is a conference that I think North Dakota State favors very well in, and I think they're going to have the opportunity to have a run and win this conference in the first year of play. Now, some things to look at historically: they've won 10 national titles at the FCS level since 2011. They're 9-5 versus FBS opponents, and they have 5 wins over power conference teams. And my question to you, Rooster, is: you've seen a lot of dominant teams. Does North Dakota State's resume actually translate, or is FCS success still kind of fool's gold when it comes to transitioning from the FCS level even to a group of 5 conference like the Mountain West?
Well, I think that they're going to be able to translate to the FBS level simply because they're not jumping into the high tier SEC, Big 10, Big 12, ACC caliber teams. And when you reflect on the previous talent they've had in the past several years, they've had numerous NFL draft picks. They've had more draft picks than a large amount of teams that are in the Mountain West currently. The talent level is not going to be an issue for North Dakota State and the teams that they're going to be playing against. I know they had a first-round draft pick guard, Gray Zabel, out of the Seattle that went to the Seattle Seahawks. I believe he went to North Dakota State. They had Carson Wentz. They had Trey Lance. They have a plethora of talent. I believe they had a quarterback taken last year in the draft who changed positions. And I mean, the talent level for North Dakota State, they're going to be a team that is built through the offensive line. They're going to ground and pound, and then they've always got a quarterback who's mobile. He can throw the ball. He's going to take the air out from under it. And this is going to be a team that is able to physically dominate a lot of teams in the Mountain West Conference. I think this is a chance for them to prove to the rest of America that the years of domination in the FCS were not a fluke and that they're here to stay.
Yeah, and listen. Oh, sorry about that. I'll cut that. Yeah, and listen, here's the thing. I was just looking at the alumni in the NFL this year, and I'm looking at the list, and it is long. But I think some of the key mentions you talked about, Trey Lance, a lot of people forget Christian Watson for the Green Bay Packers went to North Dakota State. You talk about the offensive line side of it. I mean, they've got a lot of offensive linemen in the NFL. They also have, you mentioned the other quarterback, Easton Stick at the Atlanta Falcons. So, I mean, they've got plenty. Just two guys alone won a Super Bowl last night, both on the offensive line for the Seattle Seahawks. You mentioned Gray Zabel. They also have Jalen Sundle. So, like, this team produces NFL talent year after year after year, and they're very recognizable guys at that. So, I think this program's in good hands. And to be honest with you, I think this hurts the FCS more than it helps North Dakota State. This is going to help North Dakota State out tremendously, both with being in a very stable conference, I would say. I think the Mountain West has positioned themselves to always be in contention to have great success with the teams that they have in that conference, even after losing the talented teams that they lost to the Pac-12 coming into this year. So I think it hurts the FCS a lot more. You lose a dominant program like that brings you a lot of money, and now you've got to replace that. Now, listen, people are going to say, well, they didn't make the quarterfinals this year. Well, and we still got South Dakota State. That's a conversation for another day, but Rooster, we talked off air. South Dakota State's one of those teams too that, hey, if North Dakota State goes in there and makes a run and wins 8 or 9 games that first year, they might be thinking about making the move too, because there's plenty of room for both of those teams to eat in a conference like the Mountain West. Let's talk about the leadership and timing. Why now? Well, for one, you got to look at the athletic director and president of North Dakota State, who have done a phenomenal job of making this become a reality for this team and for this program and for the fans of North Dakota State. Matt Larson pushed for the move. He's the athletic director. Phenomenal job. Genius. genius man that really made this come to life. And then he had the backing and support of the president, David Cook, who sealed the deal. By the way, his last day of being a president is March 1st. He's leaving to go be the president for Iowa State, which is interesting. I wonder, you get your guys up there and you say, all right, good luck. Who knows the career opportunities for presidents. That's a great move for him in the long run. But with Iowa State losing all those players, maybe he might want to jump back to North Dakota State before it's too late. That's neither here nor there. My question for you, Rooster, from the leadership and timing of this, how important is it that this move came from leadership, not desperation? Does that actually change how a program transitions?
I believe it does, because it shows that the leadership that they have has a plan and a strategy on how they're going to move forward. This is a lot different scenario than you just have a bunch of teams having a mass exodus out of the conference and you're just scrambling at the last minute to find somewhere to play next year. This is a team that went out, their leadership took initiative on their own. They went to a place they know that they can win, and they feel strongly that they can win. And they have the support of boosters behind them. They have the support of the coaching staff behind them. And North Dakota State is a school that has a lot of continuity there. They don't hire from outside usually. They always bring coaches from within, and they continue to have a lot of continuity there. And it's important to note, like I said earlier, if leadership has a plan, this will go seamlessly, be a seamless transition. And I don't think there's going to be any setbacks for them.
Yeah, Rooster. I mean, you bring up some great points there. I can't disagree with any of them. This is a major move. And listen, the president, who, even though is moving on, you can tell the respect and confidence he has in this team, right? We talked about it before. Like, when is this team going to move up? They almost became, like, I don't know what you would call it, the Nick Saban Alabama of the FCS there for a while. I mean, winning 10 championships in 15 years? That's pretty impressive, regardless of the result that they had this past year and the year before. Let's talk about why the Mountain West wanted North Dakota State. And we talk about who they're losing: Boise State, Fresno State, San Diego State, Colorado State, Utah State. The commissioner came out and very confidently said, Gloria Nevarez calls North Dakota State, quote, a championship mindset addition. She's very confident in North Dakota State's ability to bring a conference championship back to Fargo. This is exciting. Be honest with me, Rooster, here, and I know you will be. We know you say a lot of things off the record, but we love it here at Break the Huddle. That's why we brought you on. Be honest with me. Is North Dakota State a replacement for Boise State, or are they something totally different to the Mountain West Conference?
Well, Nate, anybody who says that this was just a decision that had no ulterior motives, that's just a strong alliance between the school and the conference, they're absolutely delusional. Mountain West just lost their top six or seven teams in the conference to the Pac-12. They lost all the state schools: San Diego State, Utah State, Boise State, everything. The Pac-12, you just need to go ahead and rename them the State 12, and then just go ahead and title the Mountain West as the rejects that nobody else wanted, because that's essentially what this conference is turning into.
Whoa, jeez.
It's turning into a conference that, I mean, I'd say the competition, it is FBS level football, but the talent level is not there compared to other conferences like the American, like the Pac-12, and especially not the Power 4 schools. I think this is an opportunity. I think North Dakota State saw a weakness here. They saw an opportunity to capitalize on the weakness of the Mountain West Conference. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if North Dakota State used this as an opportunity to win a couple conference championships in the Mountain West here, and then look to move right up again, maybe to the Pac-12.
Well, and I think that leads me right into my second question for you, Rooster. And I'm going to tee this one up for you, and you can take it as you will. If North Dakota State had been in the FBS the past 10 years, are they the Mountain West top brand right now?
I mean, I would have to say so. Like, being completely honest, If you go ask a normal college football fan to name 5 Mountain West teams, they couldn't do it. They would not know 5 teams in the Mountain West. And I think that this story right here is very similar to the type of Boise State underdog story that we've seen from decades in the past. And North Dakota State, they're going to be able to take advantage of weak competition. I know I keep hammering that down, but North Dakota State has NFL talent. And I know people may not have been watching them, but us at Break the Huddle, we've been covering them for years now. We've been watching North Dakota State for years. And they are
damn right we have.
They don't hold back. They will run the score up on people. They will push the ball down the field. And they are a team that is not coming to the FBS just thinking, well, this is a chance for us to make more money. We'll just go ahead and sacrifice a couple losses. They're coming here with winning on their mind.
Yeah, I mean, that sums it up perfectly. This is not a team coming in here to be a make-a-wish team, right? This is not a team just leveling up because, well, we want to. We really want to push our student athletes to try hard. I mean, this is a team, like we mentioned, they're 9-5 against FBS opponents. And I believe they gave Colorado a run for their money last year. This is not a joke of a program by any means. And when we talk about why this matters for media and money and visibility, you talk about their contract coming up with CBS Sports, Fox Sports, the CW, which is a great program, by the way. Even Kiswe. I've never even heard of Kiswe, but they're out there. Another thing, too, that a lot of people don't really talk about or think about, how about the FBS opponents traveling to Fargo? I mean, this is a dome atmosphere. As you can see, I'm in it right now. The noise level in this stadium is tremendous. And if you've never watched a North Dakota State home game at the Fargo Dome, man, this is a home field advantage that, especially for a Mountain West program, you do not want to come into the Fargo Dome. It is hell. Rooster, from a betting and exposure standpoint, how big is national TV for a program like North Dakota State?
Well, as we say here at Break the Huddle, and what the universal rule is home field advantage usually provides about 3 points. In college football, the home field advantage is even more paramount. And then you stick a dome on top of the stadium, that's going to trap in all the noise inside. And you can only imagine what a school like North Dakota State, who has literally nothing else to do other than go to the football games, they will be packing that place. And imagine if this school got on an ESPN game one day. Maybe there's nothing else going on. They somehow maneuver themselves into a nationally televised game somewhere. This place will be rocking. The opposing offenses will not be able to hear themselves thinking there with all the noise being trapped in. And I think this is an opportunity that a lot of schools are going to see to a lot of these smaller schools. They're going to see a chance to exploit the home field advantage environment. And I wouldn't be surprised to see a lot of new schools, maybe the Stanfords, the Boise States of the world, the Cal Berkeleys, like these schools who don't get a lot of attendance and are looking maybe at potentially getting a new stadium. Throw a dome on top of the thing. You're gonna increase the volume by tremendous amounts. It's gonna increase the home field advantage paramount.
Rooster, I'll tell you one team that could really use a dome. Why not the Hawaii Rainbow Warriors? I mean, that's a team that could really use a dome. And then you throw in some tiki fire throwers and all that other crazy stuff they got going out at the luau's, and you get some belly dancers up there. Man, that could really make for a great halftime show. I think Hawaii is one of those teams that should definitely recommend getting a dome, especially in the Mountain West Conference. Let's talk about the catch, though, for a minute, Rooster, because this is something that I think needs to be changed in college football, especially when a program is willing to jump from the FCS level to the FBS level. We saw this happen 3 years ago with Kirk Cinetti at James Madison. And that's the transition period. They will not be eligible for the college football playoff or bowl eligibility for that in 2026-2027 season. Bowl eligible only if slots are open, meaning if other teams aren't eligible or they opt out. Does the 2-year postseason ban hurt momentum, Rooster, or do you think it makes North Dakota State the most dangerous, nothing to lose team in the league, or maybe a little bit of both?
I could see it as being a little bit of both because I can see it as an opportunity for North Dakota State to go in there and take the opportunity to build some of their players up, have them in the system for a couple years, get the camaraderie of the team. But on the other hand, it's hard to get good transfers and good recruits when they know that at the end of the season there's not going to be anything to play for. It's kind of a depressing feeling going in knowing that you can't win anything before the season really even starts, which I'm going to go out on a limb here. I know there's a lot of changes the NCAA could make. The worst rule by far is that new schools coming into Division I football in the FBS have to sit out 2 years for postseason ban. Because you're either good enough to win a game or you're not. I mean, it's just as simple as that. If you come into the FBS and you don't belong, you're going to lose games anyways, and you're not going to be eligible for the bowl game anyway.
Which we saw with Sam Houston.
Exactly. And then, on the other hand, all you're doing is penalizing teams who should have been here, and they actually take the leap of faith. They have the confidence to move up levels, and all you're doing is penalizing them by basically saying, we don't want you here because we're not going to let you contend for anything.
Yeah, it totally negates why you move up. I mean, I can understand if you want to move down from the FBS to the FCS, kind of like Idaho did a while back, then you should give them a postseason ban, right? You're not going to go from the FBS to the FCS and just dominate. That's like in high school, a 5A school just dropping all of a sudden to a 1A private league where they're just going to smoke everyone. Granted, some of those 1A private schools were pretty good, but that's neither here nor there. I mean, you get the point, right? A 5A goes down to a 3A, whatever the case may be. Let's stick on topic here for a minute. But I agree with you, Rooster. It kind of contradicts why a program wants to move up, and it also takes away the incentive. I mean, if you're the NCAA, why in the hell are you going to promote teams to bump up? But if they have a winning roster this year and they have the players to prove it, give them a shot. Like you said, they're either going to win or they're going to lose. We saw James Madison win, and they got banned. They were on a ban from postseason play. That was a big reason why Kirk Cignetti left to go to Indiana, because he didn't want to have to deal with the postseason BS. Now he's won a national title. So look how that turned out for James Madison. And that's not to say that Kirk Cignetti wouldn't have left eventually, but he might have stayed a little bit longer if they had bowl eligibility. I mean, who knows what would have happened looking back. But again, that's for the past. We're looking at the future. Let's talk about the on-field expectations for North Dakota State this upcoming year, their first year in the FBS and the Mountain West Conference. You kind of briefly mentioned it, Rooster. They have a very physical run game. They win ball games in the trenches, even with their quarterback. They are quarterback run heavy. Trey Lance, Cam Miller, the list goes on. Carson Wentz, all these quarterbacks you think about, I wouldn't say run first quarterbacks, but they're putting up big yardage in the run game along with their passing game. We talk about their elite trench play. We talk about their defensive depth tested weekly, week after week in the top tier competition of the FCS, including some games that they played against FBS teams. Rooster, some rapid fire questions for you real quick. Year one in the Mountain West, over or under 500 for the North Dakota State Bison?
I'd say easily they're going to win over 6 games. Without a doubt. I mean, you look at their non-conference schedule right here, and their non-conference schedule is UIW, ETSU, Central Arkansas, and Austin Peay. They should win all those games. Every single one of them. And then you look at Mountain West, Air Force, Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico State, San Jose State, UTEP. I tell you what, though, there's going to be one team that's really tough. The Notre Dame Defeaters. Northern Illinois, top 3 team in the country, Nate. They beat them Irish. And, you know, the Irish think they're the greatest thing to walk on water. But guess what? North Dakota State Bison are here to take them down. But in all seriousness, I think that North Dakota State has a realistic shot at making the conference championship game this year in the Mountain West. I don't see them beating UNLV. Dan Mullen has UNLV rolling. They are just firing on all cylinders there. they might win every single conference game by 25 points plus there. With all the mass exodus that they just experienced in that conference, UNLV is just going to run right over everybody in there. But I think conference championship is a very legitimate opportunity for North Dakota State.
Yeah, and you kind of jumped the gun, so to speak, on my next question, so we'll skip over that one. I was going to ask about what teams North Dakota State wouldn't want to face. You mentioned UNLV, you mentioned Northern Illinois. Those are two pretty tough programs when you look at the Mountain West. And again, they're not national championship programs, but they are programs that can put up a fight easily against a team like North Dakota State. I'll jump to my next question, Rooster. My last rapid fire for you. What's the one position group that you're most worried about if you're North Dakota State heading into the FBS level this year?
I mean, it has to be the corners in the secondary, because I feel like that is the one position where you just either have it or you don't. Because usually in the skill position, I mean in the trenches, where you get these lower tier Division I teams. I mean, I don't want to say that it's easy to find talent, but 6'1", 300-pound dudes, they grow on trees. They just do. So every single team is going to have people that are 5'11", 6 foot, 6'1", that are all weighing 300 plus pounds. That's not going to be a problem. We know North Dakota State continues to put offensive line talent in the NFL. And the trenches are two positions that is their strengths that are usually going to be very tough to find replacements for. However, they have it. The one thing I'd be concerned about is the defensive backs, because secondary, I mean, we see it even up at the top levels. Even these elite teams don't have solid corners. I mean, the Georgia Bulldogs went half the season without a number 2 corner until Ellis Robinson finally decided to show up and play up to his 5-star rating. But before then, they were getting torched up and down the field every game. And I can't say that I expect much different in these lower tier conferences. The one thing that will benefit them is that the quarterbacks in these lower tier conferences are just not good. So their cornerbacks are going to be able to get some breaks because the quarterbacks are going to be missing throws from the other team. But that is the one position I'd be most worried about for North Dakota State.
Along with the defensive backs and safeties, I'm worried about the linebackers. I'm going to keep it on the defensive side, but I'm worried about the linebackers. And the reason I say that is because the lateral speed that you need at the next level, Rooster, is far different than the FCS. When you look at like the Division III level, they all have size, right? But what's the biggest difference between 6'3", 240 linebacker in Division III versus a 6'3", 240 linebacker at Georgia? Well, the difference is the lateral speed. And when you're playing against faster, more outspread offenses in the FBS, that's going to be your biggest task. And we saw Georgia. You mentioned Georgia for a minute in the secondary. What about Georgia's linebackers? They've been known for lateral speed, and they struggled this past year with lateral speed. We saw a very, very big drop-off, something that we haven't seen from them. So even at the Mountain West Conference level, I think that's something that you're going to have to take into account, something that you're going to have to keep an eye on if you're the North Dakota State coaching staff. You're going to have the size. You're going to be able to stop the run up the middle. That's not what I'm worried about. You're going to be able to contain quarterbacks. My question is, like, when you're running the speed sweeps, when you're running the off tackle run plays for these bigger teams, that's where you're really going to see the difference in speed. And I'm curious to see how North Dakota State handles that coming into this year, into the FBS. My last question to you, Rooster, is big picture takeaway. 5 years from now, where do you think North Dakota State is as a program? I know I'm putting you on the hot seat here, but if you had to take a wild guess, how many conference championships do they have, and how many games have they won percentage-wise? Where do they stand in 5 years from now, Rooster?
I would say for sure they're one of the top 3 or 4 teams in the Mountain West Conference. And a lot of their success in terms of championships is going to come down to if UNLV decides to move up to a different conference, because UNLV is just the cream of the crop there, and it's just the simple reality. There's not much to it. They're just that much better than everybody else there. They have that much better of a head coach than everybody. They've got that much more money than every other school in that conference. So they're going to be able to just out-talent. Even if their players aren't playing good that day, they're going to be able to out-talent a lot of the schools in this conference. So I think that realistically, North Dakota State, if UNLV ends up leaving in the next couple of years, I could easily see them with 2 or 3 conference championships. If UNLV decides to stay, I'd say maybe 1 conference championship, but at least 2 to 3 appearances. And I'd say at least a 750 winning percentage is a very reasonable goal, very obtainable goal for this program.
I think one thing remains true. This isn't the end of a Bison dynasty. It's the next evolution. And as they head into the Mountain West Conference, one thing also remains true. The fans are pumped for this one. Fargo, North Dakota is a very special place. They have some of the best fans in all of college football. If you haven't gotten a chance to see them on TV, you're going to get a chance this year. And I hope we get a Friday night game in the Fargo Dome, Rooster. I don't know what the schedules look like so far, but usually a Mountain West team plays pretty consistently on Friday nights. I can't wait for the Fargo Dome to be rocking this year in the FBS, in the Mountain West Conference. It's going to be explosive. It's going to be exciting. There's going to be fireworks. And for all the college football video game players out there, you best believe every single user is going to be starting a dynasty run with the North Dakota State Bison in the next year's game. This is going to be exciting for college football fans all around. I can't wait to see everyone experience the Fargo Dome. I know Break the Huddle is really trying to get up there soon. We've been in contact with some people. We're going to try our best to get up there. Hopefully this season, if we can get a few more sponsorships, we're going to try to get up there this season. And with that being said, if you made it this far, hit that subscribe button. Help us to get to 1,000 subs. We can really ramp up the content. We can really ramp up the ideas that we have here at Break the Huddle. We really appreciate everyone watching thus far and joining along for this beautiful journey that we have here at Break the Huddle. When we come back next week, we're going to get into some more off-season coaching changes, transfer portal moves, and so much more. You won't want to miss out. If you're a North Dakota State fan, what do you think about this move for your Bison team? Do you think it's the right fit? Do you think you can continue to dominate at the next level? We want to hear from you in the comments. We'll see you next week. It's time to Break the Huddle.